All In Sports Network. We love sports.
Welcome into the very first episode of All In Mizzou, a daily Monday through Friday plus some on Saturday Mizzou sports show brought to you by Rogue Media. My name is Davis Wilson. I'll be the host of this thing, and I've been trying to get this organized. It's been tough to kind of get it all together in time, but I wanted to get something out here ahead of the border war, Kansas, Missouri, tomorrow, Saturday, 2:30. I wanted to get something out. So I called up my buddy from Mizzou, Quentin Corpuel, who is a Mizzou football beat writer for the Columbia Missourian. And he just did this 3-part series, which you can find on the Columbia Missourian website. It's a 3-part series on the history of the border war between Missouri and Kansas. And this thing goes beyond football. This thing goes all the way back to the Civil War. So you want to go check that out. I called him up. I asked if he'd come on and talk about this series and also a little bit of football. So he's coming on a little bit. It's not much, but I wanted to get something out there ahead of the big game. And I'm planning on doing a live show tomorrow after the game. So join me for that, if you will. And yeah, a big thank you to Rogue Media, to Corey Dickman, to my friend Matt Mosley for getting me involved with Rogue. I am excited to do this thing, and I'm excited for the season. I'm excited for everything. But stick around to hear Quentin talk about this history between these two states that hate each other so much. And yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Very, very excited. Let's get to Quentin. I'm joined by a friend of mine, Quentin Corpuel, who is a senior at Missouri, and he is covering the Mizzou football team for the Columbia Missourian, which is a paper I wrote for last year. And he just did a really cool 3-part series that's on the Missourian website, also in the paper, I'm sure. But it's on this border war, which goes a lot deeper than football and basketball. And I wanted to have him on because I read all 3 of them. They're really, really good, very well done. So I just wanted to talk to you about how this happened, how long this, just the process behind something like this, a project like this. And then we'll get into kind of the game and we'll talk about that as well. But first, I guess, how are you? It's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, no, it's all's been well. Just trying to carry on a bright torch that was passed down by you and our good
Very
friends
good.
Adam Busack and Amelia Hurley, or who are both in other parts of the country doing their thing. But
Yeah.
it's been a good year so far. Just with this week, I knew when it was announced that this game would be happening, however long ago that was, that we as a beat team needed to knock this week out of the park. And
Yeah.
luckily for me, sports and history are the 2 subject matters I actually really enjoy talking about.
Mhm.
And I had known from previous history classes. Hell, Davis, we had a history class together where we learned about
You
this
did.
last.
Yeah, we took Missouri history last year together.
Yeah, and that was a really interesting class. And
Yeah.
I grew up in Maryland. I grew up a Miami Hurricanes fan, so I didn't really know that much about this rivalry. And also, I mean, we were in elementary school the last time these 2 teams played in football. And so
Mhm.
it had just been a while, and we didn't really have a very strong knowledge base. And I wanted to dig deeper into it, even though a lot of people here in Missouri and in Kansas already knew about it. And
Mhm.
also, like men's basketball, they've had that game going on for 3 or 4 years now. They've played in softball, baseball, soccer, but football is obviously much different.
Yeah.
And I mean, just being here today, Davis, I was telling you off camera before we started recording, there are so many alumni here, and a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
people care about this game. And I knew that this couldn't be just a normal week of coverage because this wasn't a
Yeah.
normal game. And I decided to take it to another level. And it
Mhm.
took a lot of time to write these stories, a lot of emails and texts and calls and interviews and drafts, but
Mhm.
it was all definitely worth it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a really, you've done a really good job. And I really love like the reporting side of things. I'm not sure all our listeners care or whatever, but I care. So I want to talk about it. Like, when did this start? Like, when did you start the work for this? And by the way, if you haven't read these, go to the Columbia Missourian website. There's 3 of them. They've come out all kind of in the past 3 days, right?
Yes, yes. The first two parts actually came out yesterday, and then the third one came out earlier
Okay.
this morning.
Yeah, so go read these and then come back to this. And but so I mean, it starts, the first one is like the Civil War era, which we learned about in our class we took together.
Yes.
Um, how did this idea start for you to just get into the whole history of it? Because like I grew up a TCU fan, and I had no idea about this rivalry, and really it's one of the most aggressive and violent rivalries in college sports.
Yeah, because it started with actual violence over actual real world issues.
Yeah.
It started, I think I reached out to people starting in May
Okay.
of this year.
That's a good
And
reporter. Look at you go.
yeah, yeah. And I was just scouring all of these different colleges for history professors, and not just history professors, ones who specialized in Civil War history, 19th century American history, professors whose expertise would actually help me. And so I had found a handful. I reached out to a bunch of them in May, and I'm not sure what my expectation was on who I'd actually hear back from. A lot of them did get back to me and
Mhm.
wanted to help out. And they were really key parts of this story because most of the information that I ended up writing about, I didn't know before I started researching for this 3-part series.
Mhm.
And they were fantastic.
Yeah.
But you probably saw in the first story a man by the name of Matthew Beat, aka
Mhm.
Mr. Beat, and he has a YouTube channel with a little over 1 million subscribers. He has helped a ton of students like me with different history subjects. He used to be a history teacher in Kansas for a very long time. And I'd been watching an old video of his about actually why Kansas and Missouri don't like each other. And in
Mhm.
that video, he had said that he lived in Lawrence and had gone to KU. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a shot in the dark, but may as well reach out. And sure enough, his wife, Shannon, who helps him out with a lot of the production stuff, she is amazing. She got back to me and said he would love to help out. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I am going to talk to Mr. Beat. Like this is so cool. And we went back and forth over email, text. We did a Zoom interview. And at the end, he was like, hey, do you just want to come out to Lawrence and I can take you around? I was like,
Oh
yeah,
man. Yeah.
yeah. And so earlier last month, I went to Lawrence and we went around and saw all of these sites where buildings were burned down and people were brutally murdered. And
Mhm.
it was heavy stuff, but seeing history up close and in person, there's nothing that can replicate the feeling of such. Whether it's lighter history or darker history, like I've been to Harper's Ferry in West
Mhm.
Virginia, I've been to Fort Sumter in South Carolina. Like there's a much darker side to those places than just their present day structures. And I was
Mhm.
very thankful to Matt and Shannon for taking me around Lawrence. And he actually just uploaded a video today to his channel about Bleeding Kansas. He said he wanted to get it out before the game, and I
Mhm.
watched it earlier, and it was really good. And so I was pretty surprised by how many people wanted to help out with this because a lot of people care about it, and especially with professors. I mean, one of them, Nicole Etchison, who's a history professor at Ball State University, she said we had talked for like an hour, and she was like, "Don't worry about time. Like professors love talking about their research," and
Mhm.
that was really assuring to me. And then
Yeah.
if you want to talk about former players and coaches and all of that kind of stuff, I'm happy to talk about that too because that was also neat.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is just fascinating to me. But basically, this thing goes back to the Civil War, where, I mean, obviously the border states, Kansas and Missouri, they're, um, what was it? What was the law that, you wrote about that was like, we learned about this in class and I wasn't paying enough attention.
It
But
was it was the Kansas-Nebraska Act of
yeah,
1854 that it did a few things. It admitted Kansas and Nebraska to the
mhm,
Union as territories. It got rid of the 36-30 compromise, which every state above that geographic line would be a free state, and every state below would be a slave state. The Kansas-Nebraska Act got rid of that. And the most important part of this is that Kansas and Nebraska's eventual admission to the Union as states would be decided by popular sovereignty. So the
mhm.
citizens, whoever settled in Kansas and Nebraska, they would decide whether those two states entered the Union as free or slave states.
And then because of that, you have a bunch of angry Missouri people going there to try to ensure that Kansas is a slave state, right? And it gets violent at that point.
Yeah, you have these folks from Missouri who were dubbed border ruffians who crossed state lines into Kansas to illegally vote in these elections, deciding whether Kansas should be admitted as a free or a slave state, because I think a lot of people in Missouri thought that since Kansas was right next to them, they would just be admitted as a slave state. But it
Mhm.
turns out people there thought way differently, and the Missourians, saw that as a threat to their way of life because slavery was such a major part of society. It was the source of a lot of people's wealth, both monetarily and socially. Um, it was a source of power in Congress, and Kansas represented a threat to that. And so Missourians took it upon themselves to ensure that their current way of life was to be unchanged.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, in the first, in this first kind of section, the first of three, you talk about this, this part of things, this time period. Missourians end up setting Lawrence, Kansas on fire not once but twice, and that understandably the Kansas, what is it, Kansasans,
I think it's
uh,
Kansans.
the Kansans were pretty upset about this, and then so I want to get into your second piece now. Kansans are upset, and now the war. I believe the war's over at this point. They start playing against each other in sports, where like you have Civil War veterans watching these games. Is that right? I mean, that's fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, the first time they played was in 1891. The Civil War is
Yeah,
still very much fresh in people's heads.
very funny.
And I
Yeah.
mean, both Missouri and Kansas like burned each other's towns to the ground and killed people over
Uh-huh.
slavery, which is what the
Uh-huh.
American Civil War was all about, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yep.
I mean, you learn in history class that the first shots of the Civil War were fired in South Carolina. There's an argument to be made that the Civil War actually started along the Missouri-Kansas border, and the
Mhm.
best personification of that, once the war ended and years passed, was Missouri and Kansas playing each other in football.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there was one quote in here. Uh, oh yeah, it was John Beeline, or it was or it was who was the reporter? Mark Godich that you
Yes,
talked to?
yes.
Yeah, this quote he had, I thought this was awesome. It's the Beeline family would get together at Thanksgiving, and John would start talking about the Michigan Ohio State rivalry, and Joe would say, "No, you don't get it. There's no rivalry like Mizzou KU because no one went from bloodshed and ransacking in one generation to playing football in the next generation." Like, I think that puts into perspective. Not only were these two states killing each other, but then they just, I mean, what, 30, not even 30 years after the war ends, they're playing football against each other, these two universities. And they kept that tradition going, like you talked about throughout. How many years in a row did they play?
So from
Oh,
from
20.
1891, yeah, from 1891 until 2011, the only year they didn't play was 1918 because of the influenza epidemic. But yeah,
Okay.
they played every other year until Mizzou left for the SEC with Texas A&M.
Yeah. All right. So they can make it through the world wars, but the influenza, you just have to call it
Yep.
at that.
Yep.
All right. Now the third article here is kind of the present day, you know, like you said, Mizzou leaves the Big 12 for the SEC in 2011 with Texas A&M, and the rivalry stops then because Kansas kind of refuses to play Missouri. And for years, it's been, I mean, for students like us, especially students who are out of state, didn't grow up on either, in either state. Like when I chose to go to Missouri, I found out pretty quickly that we don't like Kansas, but I mean, we never played them in football while I was there. Um, when we started playing in basketball, like going to those games, I started to kind of realize how serious this is. But it's another level serious. Like it's a huge deal that this is happening. Like you said, they haven't played since 2011. I mean, just you already talked about it a little bit, but talk about what is going on at campus. Like how big of a deal is this for, like there's years of students who never saw this game. I'm sure they're all coming back. I tried to come back, but the ticket prices are nuts. Just what is it like in Columbia right now?
There is a legitimate buzz. Like
Yeah.
it feels like either homecoming or a top 5 team is
Mhm.
in town. There are so many alumni here. A lot of
Yeah.
Ks on campus and in downtown have been X'd out,
Uh-huh.
just like the M's in Columbus during rivalry week for Ohio State, Michigan.
Mhm.
And I was saying this on the Tiger Kickoff show yesterday. Oh, hello. Hey, I've got a visitor.
Oh, let's see. Oh, it's John Anderson. How are
What are
you?
you guys working on?
We're actually talking about the border war.
Oh,
So
there you go.
yeah,
I hate those guys.
we know. What are you here for?
I was meeting about my 1300 class that I might have to give up
Oh,
temporarily, and now I'm going to go see Marty Smith.
okay.
We'll go hang out with Marty on the fire truck.
How? Wow. Awesome. Have fun. I'll see you around. All right. Well, quick John Anderson came in. That was pretty cool.
There's John Anderson.
Yeah, that is him. Oh gosh, what's it like on campus? Yeah, I mean, SEC Nation's here. Like Paul Feinbaum's going to be here, Marty Smith's going to be here, Ryan McGee's going to be here. I mean, they're already set up on Carnahan Quad. The stages are already set for tomorrow. They haven't been here since 2019. And I was this is what I was saying on the Tiger Kickoff show yesterday. I was talking about how like it's just so cool to be here right now. Like another reason why this rivalry is unique, it has spanned so many years, but current college students didn't really grow up with it.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't really exist elsewhere.
Mhm.
And I am so glad that it's back. I mean, as you said, and we talked about earlier, like I didn't grow up with this. The first
Mhm.
time I ever heard Mr. Brightside in this manner was actually during summer welcome and during the part where expletives are said. I didn't know that was going to happen until
No,
it happened.
no clue.
And yeah, and I was like, whoa, that's
Uh-huh.
crazy. But
Yeah.
yeah, sure enough, over the last few years here, I've learned about it, and people still really care. And I think tomorrow is going to be completely insane, and I am so ready for it.
Yeah, one thing I'm curious about that people are kind of talking about, this is obviously a huge deal for the older generation's alumni, but some people are saying, I mean, I saw on Twitter, someone was like, do students really care about this anymore? They don't know that. How are they supposed to know? Students care, right? Like this is huge. This is a huge, huge game.
Yeah, students care. They just don't have the same foundation of past memories that older generations do.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of students here are either from Missouri and or have parents or family members that went here that experienced it themselves. So it's not like
Mhm.
it's this totally foreign idea. Students understand it, just not in the same manner as older generations did when Mizzou and Kansas were actually playing each other in football every year.
Mhm. Yeah, honestly, I think Mr. Brightside is like like this is how much students care. They're still chanting this expletive, Kansas chant that I won't repeat on here now. But I mean,
Yeah.
I remember my freshman year, I covered Mizzou baseball for the Maneater, which we both wrote for back in the day. And
Yes, sir.
I did. They played Kansas, at Taylor Stadium, and like those teams, that team was so bad. Like no one came to those games, but that game people went to, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a big deal. I mean, people are showing up to a baseball game at Taylor Stadium. It must be a big deal. And then they did and then they did the Mr. Brightside, and I was like, holy cow! Like this is awesome. We hate these people. We hate Kansas, and I think that I mean, at least a little bit, that tradition we have with that song instills it in you a little bit, from the moment you step on campus, pretty much.
Yeah, tomorrow is going to be thundering.
Yeah,
Like
you got the
all
video.
of
I gotta see
all
it.
of all of
Hopefully.
the video cameras will be out in the press box. I
Yeah.
might honestly, I was thinking about I might just wind sprint outside like as fast as I can. Get like so
Be out
so
there.
it's louder and I can actually hear it for myself instead of being holed up in my climate controlled press box. So
Yeah.
give that a
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah, I talked about this a lot with our friend Adam Usek last year, but I wish we had more open air press boxes. I don't know if you've ever gotten to cover a game in one, but at Mississippi State, they had an open air and they do the cowbells. It's so loud. Like I think an open air box for this game against Kansas for this song would be really cool, just so you can hear it, really hear it. But you'll still hear it through the glass. Um, but yeah, man, I'm excited for that for sure. Before I let you go, I know you got stuff going on today. Um, Believe it or not, Quentin knows a lot about history, but he also knows some stuff about football. And that's another reason I wanted him to come on. So I want to hear your thoughts. You were at the Central Arkansas game. It's hard to gauge really how good this team is based on what they do against Central Arkansas, although they took it to them and that, a lot of guys look good. What are you looking for in this game? How does Missouri contain a guy like Jalen Daniels? What are you looking for here?
Yeah, that's the big question because Jalen Daniels is the type of quarterback that Mizzou has really struggled to defend over the last
Yeah.
couple of years. I mean, Jaden Daniels is obviously an extreme example because he literally won the Heisman Trophy. But I
Yeah.
even think last year, Thomas Castellanos, when he was at
Yeah.
Boston College, Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt,
Mhm.
Lenora Sellers at South Carolina, all those guys had pretty big games in large part due to their running ability, whether it was extending plays or creating positive plays beyond the line of scrimmage with their legs. And Jalen
Mhm.
Daniels can do that at a very high level. I
Yeah.
think, I think, and this is going back to last year, Jalen Daniels' biggest enemy last season was himself and his
Mhm.
decision making. He was in a
Mhm.
five-way tie for the Big 12 lead at the end of the year in interceptions. And
Mhm.
a lot of them, he was just a half second late on a read, or it was a miscommunication between him and a wide receiver. I also saw a lot of just a guy would be in double coverage and he'd force it
Yeah.
and it would get picked off. I think about at least a couple of games like the Illinois game early last year. He threw him out of the game. He threw three
Mhm.
interceptions. One of them was a
Yeah.
pick six at the end of the first half where he lollipopped a screen pass and the Illinois defensive back jumped it easy peasy lemon squeezy. And so
Mhm.
I think if Mizzou is able to force a couple of turnovers tomorrow, I think it will be a similar game to the Boston College one last year, where it is
Mhm.
competitive. I would be surprised if it's a blowout either way. I think this game is going to be competitive. I think Kansas
Yeah.
is not terrible. I think Kansas is not terrible. Again, it's
Mhm.
like Mizzou. It's tough to gauge against Fresno State and Wagner, but they have a
Yeah.
lot of fun pieces on both sides of the ball. I just think if
Mhm.
Mizzou is able to win the battle at the line of scrimmage, which I think they can do, they look really good, at least off the
Mhm.
edge. Like Damon
Yeah.
Wilson had a couple of sacks. He
Mhm.
looks really, really
Yeah.
explosive. At the second level, Josiah Trotter had an awesome game. He was as advertised. And along the offensive line, I'm looking for them to have a way better game than they did on Thursday because
Yeah.
there were a few blown protections. Prabula got hit a lot. Some of that was his
Yeah.
own doing, but
Yeah.
another chunk of that was, Caden Green getting blown by and
Yeah.
Prabula getting drilled in his blind side. And so I'm looking for them to have a better game because I think that could be a huge swing factor. And then
Yeah.
another just final key I'll talk about, a lot of Kansas's offense centers around action towards the sidelines and around the line of scrimmage, both running and throwing the ball. The onus will be on Mizzou's defensive backs, mostly the cornerbacks, to shed blockers and make quality open field tackles. That's what made somebody like Ennis Rakestraw so good, is because
Yeah.
he, along with having elite coverage skills, was an awesome tackler. And if Dre Norwood and Toriano Pride and Stephen Hall and Nick DeLoach, et cetera, if they can't shed blocks and tackle, it's going to be a long day because Kansas thrives off of that kind of stuff. And so I guess we'll get to a prediction in a minute, but I think Mizzou wins the game. I think Mizzou wins. I think they win by a possession. It's going to be competitive. Again, I would be surprised if it's a blowout either way. I'm just excited for the game to actually happen. We've been doing so much previewing and predicting. I would like to see cleats hit the turf and footballs hit hands.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you mentioned this, the way this Kansas offense runs. One thing that it stood out to me when I was watching some of their stuff was how, I mean, their receivers, it's one of these things they love. It seems like they love blocking downfield, sealing off the secondary. So I agree with you. Like our cornerbacks are going to have to deal with that. And I also think, one question I had for you that I haven't been able to find out anywhere is Tristan Newsom didn't play a lot Central Arkansas. Is that something that is going to continue, or was that do you have any idea? Because I always liked him.
Yeah, I mean, he was good. I mean, he's a veteran. He played a lot last year. I think this is also has to do with, I mean, Khalil Jacobs drew so much praise over fall camp. And so did Nick Rodriguez. And
I
think they're probably going to be rotating guys in and out maybe more often than they did last year, just because I think they have 4 really high quality linebackers. And so I'd probably put that more on the improvement of Jacobs and Rodriguez more than anything quote unquote wrong with Tristan Newsom, unless there's an injury that I mean, they haven't shared, which I don't think they can anymore because they have to release injury reports before games.
Yeah. Well, I just noticed I think it's great how deep the defense seems, especially in the front kind of 7 area. It just seems like such a deep unit. Give us your prediction. I want to hear it. What do you have?
Yeah, I'll go Mizzou 31, Kansas 23. I think Bo Prabula and the Mizzou offense, they'll be able to make plays late to seal a game. I just think I just would be so surprised if it's a blowout. Like the jury is still out on both of these teams. We haven't learned a ton, but I mean, Jalen Daniels looks healthy. The loss of Bengali Kamara on defense for KU, if he is unable to go on Saturday, I haven't heard anything official right now on if he is going to play or not. He suffered a non-contact injury in practice, which is usually never good.
Great, yeah.
So I'm inclined to think that he will not play. I mean, Mizzou's also dealing with injuries of their own. Obviously, you had Sam Horn.
Yeah.
That, man, I felt really bad for him.
Yeah, really rough.
But I actually think the more consequential injury is going to be Blake Craig tearing his ACL.
Golly.
Out for the season.
Extremely unfortunate.
I think he was probably going to be one of the better kickers in college football this year. Drilled 2 long field goals against UCA before he ripped up his knee. And now they're going to be turning to a young guy in Robbie Meyer, who had not kicked in a college game before Thursday. And so he's got a good leg. I was watching some of his Coles kicking film from a couple of years ago. He can hit from 55 pretty easily. It's just going to be about accuracy, which has been the swing factor for a lot of Mizzou kickers in recent memory. So if he's able to replicate what Blake Craig has been able to do, great. If he struggles a lot, I think there's a chance that could cost Mizzou a game, maybe even 2. But solely talking about Saturday, I think Mizzou wins, and they'll host Louisiana with a 2-0 record, and will then likely go into the South Carolina game 3-0.
Yeah, which will be really exciting. Yeah, man, talk about getting thrown into the fire for this Robert Meyer kid. I mean, the biggest game on the schedule, and you're starting, and you've never started before. So
Yeah.
we'll see how he does, man. I'm rooting for him, obviously, but that is a tough situation to just kind of have to jump into.
Yeah.
Um,
I think again, there's a higher ceiling because he does have a strong leg.
yeah,
Because that stuff you can't really teach, having leg strength. So
yeah,
curious to see if, because Eli Drinkwitz said their decision making isn't going to change in maybe
okay.
like a situation where they'd send Blake Craig out for a 55-yarder.
Mhm.
We'll see if he follows through on that, because I find it hard to believe they're going to be as sure in
Sure,
a
yeah.
guy like Meyer, who just hasn't kicked a lot, versus somebody like Blake Craig, who already has a year of experience under his belt and has proven that he can make big time kicks.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's an underrated part of the game. How they'll handle the kicker and special teams and things like that.
Yep.
Man, Quentin, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. You're the first guest I've ever had on this show, so
Yes.
congrats on that. You've done it.
All right.
You guys really go read this stuff that Quentin did. He put out a 3-part series on the Columbia Missourian website, and it's really good stuff. Really good. So go read it.
Oh, well, thank you for having me on, Davis. This has been a pleasure, and I'll always help out. Help out a friend.
Well, I appreciate that. I might need, we may see Quentin again at some point this year as I'm scrambling to find people to talk to. But Quentin, thanks a lot. I have fun of the game, man. I'm really pumped for you that you get to be there for this, and say hi to Chase and Zach for me too.
Yes, sir. Will do. Thanks, Davis.
All right, man. Thank you. That was Quentin Corpuel, Columbia Missourian Mizzou football beat writer, the history man, the football man, all of it. Again, appreciate him for coming on. Appreciate anybody who listened today, and it was pretty rushed, very last minute. I'll be more organized going forward. Like I said, planning on doing a reaction show tomorrow night, Saturday night after the game, whatever the outcome may be. So come back for that. I appreciate it. Thank you again to Rogue Media, Corey Dickman. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.